The alarm screamed across every human station in the solar system at exactly 0347 hours. Captain Laura Bennett was drinking her third cup of coffee on the bridge of the Earth defense vessel Horizon when the warning lights turned the room red. She set down her cup and watched the main screen with calm eyes. "Captain, we have unknown contacts emerging near Jupiter," said Lieutenant Commander Kevin Shaw. His voice was steady, but his fingers moved fast across his console. "Many contacts. Very many contacts." Laura stood from her chair and walked closer to the screen. The dots kept appearing. 10, 50, 200, 1,000. The number kept climbing until it stopped at 3,217. "That's a lot of ships," she said quietly. Dr. Megan Cole rushed onto the bridge, still pulling on her uniform jacket. She was the chief science officer and the best expert on alien communications that Earth had. "Captain, I'm picking up a transmission. It's broadcasting on every frequency. They want everyone to hear this." "Put it through," Laura said. The screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. The creature had gray skin, 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and a mouth full of small, sharp teeth. It wore armor that gleamed like polished metal, and behind it stood a bridge filled with similar beings. "Attention, primitive species of this star system," the alien said. The translation software worked perfectly, turning the harsh sounds into clear English. "I am Supreme Commander Varath of the Galactic Enforcement Fleet. Your system has been claimed by the Galactic Collective. You will surrender immediately and prepare for integration. Resistance is not advised. You have 1 rotation of your planet to respond." The transmission ended. The bridge was silent. Kevin looked at Laura. "Captain, should I contact Fleet Command? Should we begin evacuation protocols?" Laura stared at the screen for a long moment. Then she did something that confused everyone on the bridge. She laughed. It started as a small chuckle, but it grew into a real, genuine laugh. She put her hand on the back of her chair to steady herself. Kevin's eyes went wide. "Captain, are you okay?" "I'm fine, Kevin," Laura said, wiping her eyes. "I'm better than fine." Megan stepped forward, concern on her face. "Laura, there are over 3,000 warships out there. This is serious." "Oh, I know it's serious," Laura said. She was still smiling. "But they don't know what they just walked into. They really don't." The communication panel beeped. Kevin checked it and looked even more confused. "Captain, it's Admiral Palmer from Luna Base. He wants to speak with you directly. Put him through." Admiral Greg Palmer's face appeared on screen. He was an older man with gray hair and a thick mustache. He had led Earth's defense forces for 15 years. He was not known for his sense of humor. He was laughing too. "Bennett," he said, trying to control his smile, "please tell me you saw that transmission." "I did, sir. 3,000 ships. They brought 3,000 ships, and they think they can just demand our surrender." Palmer shook his head. "They have no idea, do they?" "No, sir. They do not." Palmer's expression became more serious, though the amusement never fully left his eyes. "All ships are to hold position. Do not engage. Do not show anything yet. Let them think we're scared. Let them think we're discussing surrender. Understood, sir? And Bennett? When the time comes, I want the Horizon at the front. You've earned it." The transmission ended. Laura turned to her crew. They were all watching her with a mixture of fear and hope. These were good people. They trusted her. They deserved to know why she wasn't afraid. "Listen to me," she said. "I know what you're thinking. You're thinking we're outgunned. You're thinking this is the end. But I need you to trust me when I say that everything is going to be okay." "Captain," Kevin said slowly, "how can you be sure? Those ships are huge. Our sensors can barely measure their weapons. Laura walked to the main screen and looked at the distant points of light that represented the alien fleet. 258 years ago, we found something on Mars. Ancient ruins. Alien technology. Proof that we were not alone in the universe. Everyone knew this story. It was taught in every school. What they don't teach in schools, Laura continued, is what we found inside those ruins. Records, data, history. We learned that the galaxy is not a friendly place. We learned that species like us, young and growing, are often conquered before they can defend themselves. Megan nodded. She knew parts of this. The preparation protocol. Exactly. For 250 years, humanity has been building. Quietly, secretly. Every advance we've made, every technology we've developed, we've kept the best parts hidden. Even most of our own people don't know what we really have. Kevin looked at his console, then back at Laura. So all those stories about secret defense stations, about weapons that could, not stories, Laura said. Truth. A young officer at the sensor station raised her hand. Captain, the alien fleet is moving closer. They're taking positions around our outer colonies. Let them. They're just making themselves comfortable before we answer. What answer will we give? Megan asked. Laura sat back in her chair and crossed her arms. We're going to tell them the truth. We're going to explain very politely that they have one chance to leave. And when they refuse, because they will refuse, we're going to show them why humanity spent 2 centuries preparing for this exact moment. The bridge was quiet again. But this time, it was a different kind of silence. It was not the silence of fear. It was the silence of people beginning to understand. Kevin, I want all crew at battle stations in 1 hour. Not because we need to fight, but because I want everyone awake for what comes next. Yes, Captain. Laura looked back at the screen. Somewhere out there, 3,000 alien warships waited, confident in their power. Their commander probably thought this would be easy. Another primitive species to conquer. Another world to add to their collection. He was wrong. Laura picked up her coffee again and took a long drink. It had gone cold, but she didn't mind. They came here thinking they were predators, she said to no one in particular. They're about to learn that we're not prey. Outside, the stars burned cold and distant. The alien fleet moved closer. And on every human ship and station across the solar system, people looked at their screens, saw the impossible numbers, and felt the first spark of something they hadn't expected. Not fear, hope, because the admirals were laughing. The captains were smiling. And somewhere in the darkness between worlds, humanity's true strength waited to be revealed. Supreme Commander Vorath stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, and watched the small blue planet on his screen. Earth, the humans called it. A tiny world orbiting an ordinary star. Nothing special about it. Nothing that should cause him any concern. And yet, his communications officer had reported something strange. The human transmissions they intercepted showed no panic, no fear. In some recordings, they could hear laughter. Perhaps they are simply too primitive to understand their situation, said Sub-Commander Krellix, who stood at Vorath's side. I have seen this before. Some species are so backward that they cannot comprehend the power we bring. Perhaps, Vorath said, but something bothered him. He had conquered over 800 species in his career. He knew what surrender looked like. He knew what denial looked like too. This was different. Sir, we are receiving a communication request from one of the human vessels, the officer reported. They wish to establish diplomatic contact. Vorath smiled, showing his rows of small teeth. Finally, put them through. Let us hear their surrender. The screen changed to show a human bridge. A female stood at the center, her posture straight and relaxed. Behind her, Other humans worked at their stations with calm efficiency. There was no fear in their eyes. None at all. "I am Captain Laura Bennett of the Earth Defense Vessel Horizon," the female said. "I have been authorized to speak on behalf of humanity. I am Supreme Commander Vorath. You have received our demands. Do you accept?" "No." The single word hung in the air. Vorath's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "I do not think you understand," he said slowly. "We have over 3,000 warships. You have perhaps 300. Your technology is primitive. Your weapons cannot harm us. Surrender is your only option." "I understand perfectly," Laura said. "And my answer is still no. But I'm going to offer you something instead. A chance." "A chance?" Krelix laughed, a harsh barking sound. "What chance could you possibly offer us?" Laura ignored him and kept her eyes on Vorath. "Leave now. Take your fleet and go back where you came from. Tell the Galactic Collective that this system is not available for conquest. Do this, and we will let you leave in peace." Vorath stared at her for a long moment. Then he began to laugh. It was a deep rumbling sound that filled his bridge. His officers joined in. The idea was simply too ridiculous. "Little human," he said when he finally stopped laughing. "Do you know how many species have tried to resist us? Do you know how many thought they could frighten us with brave words? They are all gone now, conquered, integrated, forgotten. We are not like other species." Laura said, "They all say that." Dr. Megan Cole stepped forward on the human bridge and whispered something to Laura. Laura nodded. "Let me explain something," Laura said. 250 years ago, we found ruins on Mars, alien ruins. Inside, we found records of the galaxy. We learned about species like yours. We learned how you operate, how you find young civilizations and crush them before they can become threats." Vorath's smile faded slightly. He had not known about those ruins. "We had a choice," Laura continued. "We could panic. We could give up. Or we could prepare. We chose to prepare. For 250 years, Commander, humanity has been getting ready for this exact moment. Every scientific breakthrough, every technological advance, we saved the best for this." "Lies," Krelix said. "Desperate lies from a desperate species." "Then let me prove it." Laura looked to her side. "Send the coordinates." Vorath's console beeped. An officer checked it and looked up with confusion. "Sir, they've sent us the location of an unmanned human station near Saturn. They're inviting us to attack it. What kind of trick is this?" Krelix demanded. Laura's expression didn't change. "No trick. You want proof that resistance is useless. We want proof that we're not afraid. Attack that station. Use whatever weapons you want. Then you'll understand why we're not surrendering." Vorath considered this. It was clearly a trap of some kind. But what harm could one small station do to his fleet? And if he refused, it would look like weakness. "Very well," he said. "Krelix, send 5 ships to destroy that station. Make sure the humans can watch." 5 warships broke formation and accelerated toward Saturn. The journey took less than an hour. The human station was small, barely larger than one of their fighters. It sat alone in the darkness, surrounded by nothing. "Fire," Krelix ordered. The 5 ships unleashed their weapons. Plasma cannons, kinetic accelerators, and energy beams all hit the station at once. The combined firepower was enough to crack a small moon. The explosion of light was visible across the solar system. When the light faded, the station was still there, completely undamaged. Not a scratch on its surface. Vorath leaned forward. "What?" "Fire again," Krelix shouted. "All weapons. Full power." They fired again. And again. For 10 full minutes, The 5 ships poured everything they had at that tiny station. The energy they released could have destroyed a planet. And when they finally stopped, exhausted and overheated, the station sat exactly where it had been, as clean and untouched as before. The human captain appeared on screen again. She was still calm. If anything, she looked slightly bored. "Your weapons cannot penetrate our shields," she said simply. "Your scanners cannot read our technology. Your computers cannot hack our systems. We have spent 250 years making sure of it." Loreth's mouth had gone dry. "How? This is impossible." "Nothing is impossible," Laura said. "We simply worked harder than anyone expected. Longer than anyone thought we would. Every day for 2.5 centuries, humans have been building, improving, and preparing. This is the result." "Sir," an officer said, his voice shaking, "I'm running analysis on their shields. I cannot find any weakness. Our weapons are completely ineffective." Krelix looked at Vareth with fear in his eyes. "Commander, perhaps we should—" "What do you want?" Voreth interrupted, speaking to Laura. "What are your demands?" "The same as before. Leave. That's all. Just leave." Voreth stood in silence. His entire fleet, over 3,000 of the most powerful warships in the galaxy, and they couldn't scratch one tiny human station. It should have been impossible. It was impossible, but he had seen it with his own 4 eyes. I need time to consider," he said. Laura nodded. "You have 12 hours. After that, we stop being polite." The transmission ended. Vareth stood on his bridge, surrounded by officers who were looking at him for guidance. For the first time in his long career, he had no idea what to do. "What manner of species is this?" He whispered outside the viewport. The stars shone as they always had. But now they seemed different somehow, colder, more dangerous, because somewhere among them, the humans were waiting. And they were not afraid at all. 12 hours passed. Vareth did not sleep. He spent the time reviewing every piece of data his ships had collected about humanity. Their history, their wars, their technology. He read about their world wars, their diseases, their disasters. He read about how their own planet tried to kill them with storms, earthquakes, and ice ages. And he read about how they survived it all. "They are called Deathworlders," Krelix said, reading from his console. "Their planet has dangerous predators, toxic plants, extreme temperatures. Most species would not survive a single generation there. They have lived there for hundreds of thousands of years. That does not explain their technology," Voreth said. "No, but it explains their attitude." Krelix looked up. "They are not afraid of us because they have never known safety. Danger is normal to them. We are just another problem to solve." A communication officer approached. "Sir, the 12 hours are almost over. The human fleet is moving into position. They want to know your answer." Voreth had made his decision during the long night. He would not run. He could not run. If word spread that he had retreated from a species this primitive, his career would be over. His honor would be destroyed. The Galactic Collective would replace him with someone else. "We attack," he said. "All ships, full assault. They cannot have shields on every vessel. We will overwhelm them with numbers." "Sir, are you certain?" Krelix asked. "After what we saw, I am certain. 3,000 ships against a few hundred. Even if their technology is advanced, they cannot stop us all." Prepared the fleet. The orders went out. Ships began to move, forming into attack groups. Weapons charged. Engines roared. The largest military force the galaxy had ever seen, prepared to crush a small blue world and its stubborn inhabitants. On the horizon, Lava received the report with a small nod. "They're not leaving." "No surprise there," Kevin said. "Their commander has too much pride. Admiral Palmer is on the line, Megan reported. Palmer's face appeared on screen. His expression was serious now. No more laughter. Bennett, I'm authorizing Protocol Lighthouse. Let's show them what they're dealing with. But remember the rules. No killing unless absolutely necessary. We're not trying to destroy them. We're trying to teach them. Understood, sir. The calm before is moving to position now. Captain Reyes knows what to do. Support him if needed. The transmission ended. Laura turned to her crew. You heard the Admiral. Battle stations. But keep weapons on non-lethal settings. We're going to win this fight without becoming the monsters they expect us to be. The Earth destroyer Calm before was a small ship, barely half the size of our smallest cruiser. Captain Nate Reyes stood on its bridge with his hands clasped behind his back. He was young for a captain, only 32, but he had trained for this moment his entire life. Take us in, he said. Nice and slow. Let them see us coming. The calm before moved toward the alien fleet alone. 3,000 weapons locked onto it immediately. Vorath watched from his flagship with disbelief. One ship? They send one ship? Perhaps they wish to surrender in person, Krellick suggested. Then why send a warship? Why not a transport? Vorath shook his head. Open fire. Destroy it. Every ship in range fired at once. The space around the calm before exploded with light and energy. Thousands of weapons released their fury at the single small vessel. The combined firepower could have destroyed a moon. 2 moons. An entire planet. The calm before kept coming. Its shields glowed bright blue as they absorbed the attack, but the ship itself showed no damage. It did not even slow down. Impossible, Vorath whispered. That's impossible. Captain Reyes smiled on his bridge. Shields holding at 94%. They hit pretty hard, I'll give them that. Sir, we're in range, his weapons officer reported. Good. Fire pulse cannon. Single shot. Non-lethal setting. Target the ships directly ahead of us. The calm before's main weapon was something humanity had never revealed to anyone. It had taken 100 years to develop, 50 years to perfect. It was called the Cascade Pulse, and it could disable any electronic system within its range without causing physical damage. A wave of blue light spread out from the small destroyer. It moved fast, faster than any weapon the aliens had ever seen. It passed through their shields like they weren't there. It touched their hulls and kept going. And then 50 ships went dark. Lights flickered off. Engines stopped. Weapons powered down. Life support remained functional because the humans had calibrated the pulse carefully. They did not want to kill. They wanted to demonstrate. 50 warships, each one capable of destroying cities, now drifted helplessly in the void. Their crews were alive but helpless, unable to do anything but watch as the single small human ship turned toward the next group. That was our polite setting, Nate broadcast to the entire alien fleet. Would you like to see what happens when we stop being polite? Vorath's 4 eyes were wide with shock. His hands gripped the arms of his command chair until his knuckles turned white. In one single shot, the humans had disabled 50 of his ships without killing a single crew member. Sir, the disabled ships are reporting in, an officer said. No casualties. No damage to hulls. But all systems are offline. They estimate repairs will take days. Laura's face appeared on Vorath's screen again. She looked almost sad. Commander, please listen to me. We don't want to destroy you. We never wanted that. If we wanted to kill, we could have done it already. That pulse could have been lethal. It wasn't. That's a choice we made. Why? Vorath demanded. Why not just destroy us? Because we know what it's like to be afraid. We know what it's like to face something stronger than you. We remember the fear we felt when we found those ruins on Mars. when we realized the galaxy might be full of things that wanted to hurt us. Lara paused. We spent 2 centuries preparing for this moment. Not so we could become conquerors, but so we could choose mercy instead of fear. Mercy? Vorath spat the word. You call this mercy? Yes, your crews are alive. Your ships can be repaired. You can go home to your families. That's mercy, Commander. And it's the only offer you're going to get. Krelix grabbed Vorath's arm. Sir, we cannot win this. We should retreat, regroup, return with a larger force. Vorath pulled his arm away. His pride burned in his chest. He had never retreated. Never. And he would not start now. All ships, continue the attack, he ordered. Focus fire on that destroyer. Nothing can withstand the full power of our fleet. The calm before was suddenly surrounded by thousands of enemies. Every weapon in the alien armada pointed at it. Captain Reyes looked at his display and shook his head. They really don't learn, do they? Orders, sir? Same as before. Non-lethal pulses. Let's see how many we can disable before they figure it out. The battle continued. But it was not really a battle anymore. It was a lesson. And humanity was the teacher. One by one, alien ships went dark. One by one, crews found themselves adrift but alive. And through it all, the small human destroyer kept moving, kept firing, kept showing the galaxy that power did not require cruelty, that strength could exist without destruction, and that humanity, for all its centuries of preparation, had prepared not for war, but for this exact moment of choice. The battle, if it could be called a battle, lasted 6 hours. When it was over, more than 2,000 alien ships drifted in darkness across the outer solar system. Their crews were alive but helpless, watching through windows as human vessels moved among them. Vorath's flagship, the Eternal Dominion, was among the last to fall. He had watched his fleet crumble around him, unable to do anything to stop it. His weapons were useless. His shields were meaningless. His numbers meant nothing against technology that was generations ahead of his own. Now he sat in his command chair, surrounded by dark screens and silent consoles. Emergency lights provided the only glow. His crew huddled in small groups, speaking in whispers, afraid of what would come next. They will kill us now, Krelix said. He stood beside Vorath, his 4 eyes dim with defeat. This is how it always ends. The victor destroys the defeated. Perhaps, Vorath said. He felt empty, hollow. Everything he believed about his own power, his own fleet, had been proven wrong. Perhaps we deserve it. We have done the same to others for centuries. A noise echoed through the ship. Metal on metal. Footsteps. The humans were boarding. Vorath stood and straightened his armor. If he was going to die, he would die with dignity. Gather the crew in the main hall. We will face them together. The alien soldiers assembled in the largest room on the ship. Hundreds of them, still armed, still wearing their battle gear. But there was no fight left in their eyes. They had seen what the humans could do. They knew resistance was pointless. The main door opened. Vorath expected soldiers. He expected weapons pointed at his crew. He expected demands for surrender, chains, prison cells. What he saw was a human female walking alone into a room full of armed enemies. She carried nothing but a small device in her hand. No weapon, no armor, no guards. Captain Laura Bennett stopped in the center of the room and looked around at the alien soldiers. Then she smiled. Please, she said, there's no need to be afraid. Vorath pushed through his soldiers until he stood before her. You come alone? To a ship full of enemies? Either you are very brave or very foolish. Neither. I just know you're not going to hurt me. How can you be certain? Laura looked at him with eyes that held no fear, no anger, not even pride. Just a strange kind of warmth. Because you're not evil, Commander. You were doing what you were trained to do, what your society expected you to do. That doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a person who never had a choice. No one had ever spoken to Vorath this way. He had been feared his entire life, respected, obeyed, but never understood. What do you want from us? He asked. Right now. I want to help your wounded. Lavra held up the device. This is a medical scanner. My ship has supplies, doctors, everything we need. I'd like to start with your injured soldiers. Krellick stepped forward. This is a trick. Some kind of trap. If I wanted to trap you, I would have destroyed your ships instead of disabling them. Lavra put the scanner in her pocket and held up her empty hands. We could have killed all of you. Every single one. Our weapons can do that. But we chose not to. We chose mercy. Now I'm asking you to choose trust. A long silence filled the room. Vorath looked at his soldiers. They were watching him, waiting for his decision. If he ordered them to attack, they would. This human would die in seconds. But what would that prove? What would it change? Nothing. It would change nothing. Stand down, Vorath said. Lower your weapons. Slowly, reluctantly, the soldiers obeyed. Weapons dropped to sides. Tension left the room, replaced by something that might have been relief. Laura nodded. Thank you. Now, where are your wounded? For the next several hours, Laura moved through the ship with human medical teams. They treated alien injuries with careful hands and advanced equipment. They gave food to the hungry. They repaired life support systems that were failing. They asked nothing in return. Vorath followed her, watching everything. He could not understand these creatures. They had one. They had absolute power over his fleet. They could take whatever they wanted, demand anything they desired. Instead, they were helping. Why? He finally asked. They were in a medical bay, watching human doctors treat an alien soldier with a broken arm. Why are you doing this? Laura leaned against the wall and crossed her arms. Because I remember what fear feels like. You? Afraid? Your people laughed when we arrived. We laughed because we knew we could defend ourselves. But that's not always been true. Laura looked at the wounded soldier on the table. Humans have a long history of being afraid. We feared disease, war, nature, each other. For most of our existence, we were small and weak in a dangerous world. But you survived. We survived. And we learned something important along the way. The worst thing you can do when you become strong is forget what it felt like to be weak. If you forget that, you become the thing you used to fear. A bully, a tyrant, a monster. Laura thought about his own career. The species he had conquered. The worlds he had taken. Had he ever stopped to think about how they felt? Had he ever offered them mercy? No, he hadn't. Because mercy was weakness. That's what he had been taught. That's what his whole civilization believed. But here was proof that it wasn't true. Here was a species with power beyond anything he had imagined. And they were using that power to heal instead of harm. We were wrong about you, Vorath said quietly. You were wrong about a lot of things. Laura pushed off from the wall. But that's okay. Being wrong isn't the end. It's a beginning. A chance to learn. A chance to change. The Galactic Collective will not accept this defeat. They will send more ships. More fleets. We know. And we'll be ready for them too. But here's the thing, Commander. We're not trying to conquer anyone. We don't want your territory. We don't want your resources. We just want to live in peace and maybe make some friends along the way. Friends? The word sounded strange in Vorath's mouth. The Collective does not have friends. Only subjects and enemies. Maybe it's time for that to change. Vorath was quiet for a long moment. Then he did something he had never done before in his entire military career. He reached out his hand in what he hoped was the human gesture of agreement. Laura took it and shook once. Her grip was firm but gentle. "You will speak for us," Laura said. "When the collective asks what happened here, I will tell them the truth. That we were defeated by a species that chose not to kill us. That we were shown mercy we did not deserve. That perhaps, just perhaps, there is another way to exist in this galaxy." Laura smiled. "That's all we've ever wanted." Outside the viewport, human ships moved among the disabled fleet, helping, repairing, saving lives that didn't need to be lost. And somewhere in the darkness, old ideas began to crack, making room for something new. Something that might just change everything. 3 months after the battle that wasn't a battle, the Galactic Council assembled for an emergency session. Representatives from over 400 species filled the massive chamber on the Council's homeworld. Some had traveled for weeks to be here. All of them wanted to understand what had happened in that distant solar system, where a primitive species had humiliated the greatest military force in known space. Envoy Thesser stood before the assembly, his gray skin pale with exhaustion. He had been working without rest since the fleet returned home, trying to explain the impossible to leaders who refused to believe it. "The humans released all prisoners within 48 hours, he reported. "They repaired our damaged ships. They returned our wounded after treating them with their own medical supplies. And they sent us home with gifts, food, medicine, technology that could improve our agricultural systems." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. A representative with bright blue scales rose from her seat. "This makes no sense. They defeated us. They should have demanded tribute, territory, submission. Why would they give us gifts?" "Because," Besser said carefully, "they wanted to prove a point. They wanted to show us that strength does not require cruelty." "This is obviously a trick," called another representative. This one being made of crystalline structures that chimed when he moved. "They are lulling us into a false sense of security. We should send a larger fleet. Destroy them before they become a real threat." "With respect, Counselor, I do not think that would end well for us." A door opened at the side of the chamber, and Supreme Commander Vorath walked in. He looked different than before. Something in his posture had changed. The arrogance was gone, replaced by something quieter, more thoughtful. "Commander Vorath," the council chairman said, surprise in his voice, "you were not scheduled to speak." "I know, but I have something to say, and the council needs to hear it." Vorath walked to the center of the chamber and stood beside Thesser. He looked up at the hundreds of faces watching him, beings he had spent his life protecting through force and intimidation. "I have conquered many species," he began. "I have won hundreds of battles. I have been called a hero by our people. But 3 months ago, in a small solar system near the edge of mapped space, I learned that everything I believed was wrong." The chamber fell silent. "The humans could have killed us," Vorath continued. "Every single one of us. Their technology is so far beyond ours that we were helpless. Our weapons could not scratch their shields. Our ships were toys to them. They could have wiped us out, and no one in the galaxy could have stopped them. Then why didn't they?" The chairman asked. "Because they chose not to." Vorath's voice was steady. "Because they believe that power without compassion is worthless. Because they remember what it was like to be weak and afraid, and they refuse to become the kind of beings that made them feel that way." The crystalline counselor made a dismissive sound. "Pretty words. But words do not win wars." "No," Vorath agreed. "They don't. Actions win wars. And their actions spoke louder than anything I've ever witnessed. I watched human doctors treat my wounded soldiers. I watched human engineers repair our ships. I watched Captain Laura Bennett walk unarmed onto my flagship, surrounded by enemies, and offered to help us." He paused, letting the words settle. "I have spent my life believing that mercy is weakness. That compassion is foolishness. The humans have proven me wrong. They are the strongest species I have ever encountered, and they are also the kindest. If that is weakness, then I no longer understand what strength means. A screen at the front of the chamber flickered to life. Admiral Greg Palmer's face appeared, transmitted from Luna Base across the vastness of space. "Members of the Galactic Council," Palmer said, "I apologize for the interruption. I wanted to address you directly, and Envoy Thesser was kind enough to arrange this connection." "Admiral Palmer," the chairman said carefully, "we have heard much about you and your species. I'm sure you have. I'm sure most of it makes us sound like either monsters or fools. So let me be clear about what humanity wants." Palmer leaned forward slightly, his eyes meeting the camera. "We don't want your territory. We don't want your resources. We don't want to rule over you or force you to change your ways. What we want is simple. We want to live in peace. We want to trade, to learn, to grow alongside other species. We want to make the galaxy a little better than we found it. And if we refuse," the Crystalline Counselor asked, "if we send more fleets, then we will stop them the same way we stopped the first one. Without killing, without hatred. But we will stop them." Palmer's expression softened. "But I hope it won't come to that. I hope that maybe, just maybe, this can be the start of something better. A new way of doing things. A galaxy where strength is measured not by how many species you've conquered, but by how many you've helped." The transmission ended. The chamber remained silent for a long moment. Then Vorath spoke again. "I came here today to tell you the truth. The humans are not our enemies. They could be our friends if we let them. They could teach us things we have forgotten. Things about mercy, compassion, and the real meaning of strength." "And what do you suggest we do, Commander?" the chairman asked. "I suggest we offer them what they asked for. Peace, trade, cooperation. Not because we fear them, although we should, but because they have shown us a better path, and only a fool ignores wisdom when it is offered." The vote took 3 hours. Representatives argued, debated, and questioned everything they had heard. Some demanded war. Others counseled patience. But in the end, when the final count was made, the result was clear. Humanity was offered full membership in the Galactic Council. Not as a conquered species. Not as subjects. As equals. On the bridge of the horizon, Lavra Bennett watched the transmission of the vote with her crew gathered around her. When the result was announced, cheers filled the small space. Kevin Shaw pumped his fist in the air. Megan Cole wiped tears from her eyes. Lavra just smiled. "We did it," Kevin said. "We actually did it. We did." Laura looked out the viewport at the stars that had once seemed so threatening. Now they felt different, full of possibility instead of danger. "This is just the beginning. The real work starts now." "What kind of work?" "The kind where we prove that everything we said was true. Where we show the galaxy, day by day, that humans can be trusted. That mercy is not weakness. That kindness is not foolishness." She turned to face her crew. "The hard part isn't winning a war. The hard part is building a peace." 6 months later, the first human ambassador departed for the galactic capital. Her name was Dr. Megan Cole, and she carried with her the hopes of an entire species. Behind her, humanity continued to build, to grow, to reach out into a galaxy that was finally ready to meet them and across the stars. Species that had once conquered and destroyed began to whisper a new word. A word for hope. A word for change. A word for the small, strange, stubborn beings from a tiny blue world who had proven that strength and kindness could exist together. The word was human.